Well, here we go. And we're definitely sitting outside here today and doing it in the great out of doors, which is what I wanted to do for quite a while. And as you can see behind me, I have my morning glory plant, which seems to have gone a little bit on the crazy side, if you can catch the drift of that. Actually, I planted it, and what happened is, like everything else that I plant, it goes completely batshit crazy. And that's what happened here. So they're running up the thing to the sunroof and going all over the place. There's another piece over here. If I can swing the camera around here slow, you should be able to see it. Right over there. And it's even more full of flowers and everything else. And you can shake a stick at it, so I'll bring it back slow here. Don't let anybody spin out on me. Okay. And this morning we have a topic here. And this one here is for, where are we? Oh, yes, for a lady named Aurora. And she asked a question which I thought was a rather good one. I think I'm up for the challenge here. Is what role do twin flames play in correcting sexual abuse and transmuting them? Very interesting topic. And hopefully I'm going to be able to do something with it here. And I'm going to base it on the fact that to start this off, I think what happens is, and I think most twin flames would experience this, and some people are experiencing this also outside of the twin flame community, and it's that their evolutionary process, when they're actually coming together with another person, is taking off in a direction that many of you have noticed that in these connections, the sexual energy of the sexual connection between the two individuals is incredibly, incredibly strong. Not always, but in the majority of cases, there's always exception to the rule. Oh, and I want to mention just one thing here in this video so I don't forget. Keep in mind here that when I'm talking about a particular topic or a particular theme, that I'm speaking in general terms. I am not nitpicking it into a certain segment. With every theme or topic that I'm talking about, there's always going to be some variables or some differences. So everybody shouldn't take everything I'm saying like it's written in stone and accept the fact that the evolutionary process works differently through everybody, the same as what Kundalini does. So this is exactly what is happening at the moment. And now in regards to the sexual energy and the sexual contact, what I found from working with a lot of people is that initially in the beginning, when they come together and they have these awakenings, this can apply to twin flame soulmates or any other label that you want to use, is the sexual energy is very strong. And usually what I find is people either realize themselves or they experience it themselves, where they understand that they're actually burning off etheric material from the etheric body that has templated their own sexual energy in regards to themselves and also in regards to their particular family tree or their particular soul group. Now, in respect to twin flames, and I'm talking here about specifically here the twin flames that are mission oriented. Okay, not all twin flames are mission oriented. Some are just working towards creating a new template or a new perspective of to form into a relationship scenario. So some are working that are doing in the mission format are actually doing specific jobs, specific areas, and in specific areas of society. And the ones that are working with sexual energy will usually pick a family or a soul group or a bloodline that has a lot of dysfunctional sexual energetic templates in it. It could be pedophiles, it could be sexual abuse in any form or fashion. And what they will do is, and it's a rather unpleasant situation, if you will, is they tend to go into these soul groups or these patterns, take on or become the recipient. I'm not going to use the word victim here because it's not a word that I really feel that is applicable in sexual abuse. They become the recipient of the sexual abuse, and in doing so, they take it on as a template, and as a template of, and I'm going to use the word here, understanding. Now, some people say, well, what the hell is he talking about, understanding? You have to keep in mind here that when a set of twin flames come in and they are specifically working, for example, in the sexual area, which most are to a relative degree, but some are specialists, if we want to call it that. When they come in, they already have the understanding or the knowing of what to expect when they come into a particular soul group. Now, naturally, as they're going through childhood, their younger years, and when the sexual abuse is taking place, you can't really go up to them and say from an evolutionary spiritual perspective, well, you chose to experience. You can't tell a child that, obviously. I mean, nobody in their right mind would be so stupid to do that, all right? But at a soul level, they may be fully aware that they've come in, they volunteered to come into this particular area. And I know a lot of people are going to have a real problem with this one probably and get a little upset. But they come in and they know full well what they're getting involved with. And they know full well that they're taking on the template. Now, the idea of taking on the template is for this reason. And I want to try to explain it this way so that people can understand. If you have any knowledge of Kundalini, Kundalini, the energy itself, or the process of Kundalini, is identical for everybody. Identical in the sense of how it moves in the person. Now, what I mean by that is if I'm having Kundalini moving in me and I have somebody sitting across the table from myself and Kundalini is moving in them, the process of the Kundalini awakening is identical in both of us, with this exception. Because we have a personality, because we have an identity, because we have a psyche, because we have a psychological makeup, because we have incorporated in our lives belief systems, indoctrination, religion, culture, race, and ego, the Kundalini energy would move differently. So it would seem as though that it's unique to each individual as it moves through it. So when you have someone who takes on a set of twin flames, a male or female, when they take on the idea here of the sexual templates or the abuse of a particular family, what happens is they would have the understanding and the knowing at a soul level or higher self level, if you will, as to how to deal with it later on when the Kundalini energy begins to move. Now, in doing so, you need to understand this here. From my understanding, from what I get of it, is we're constantly being bombarded with information that wants to change our behavior and modify us. So what happens is the etheric body, which has, and I've mentioned this before in other videos, additional sheath bodies. Okay, the etheric body, as many know, is a duplicate of the physical, but in that etheric body, there's 12 additional sheath or energy bodies. Those energy bodies contain what I'm going to call, for simplicity's sake, aspects of personality. All right, the personality is formed, all right, through going through the childhood, teenage years up into adulthood. So if someone wants to take it on, they would upload it, all right, all of those templates or the sexual abuse, whatever, into the appropriate sheath bodies. And then when they started a spiritual awakening, which everyone knows we're going through at this particular point in time on a big scale on the planet, they could take on these dysfunctional sexual patterns and templates. And the Kundalini energy, because they have now come into physicality and they've taken on an identity, a persona, a personality, all right, and all of the characteristics that goes with the personality, Kundalini energy can then, excuse me, move through the system and can actually start changing, eliminating, and actually modifying the dysfunctional patterns, as many of you know. Many of you know already by having a heart center chakra awakening and having the Kundalini awakening. The very first thing that begins to happen is the whole of your personality, your persona, of your environment, everything begins to change. Well, I can assure you there's a very big plan going on here, and the sexual abuse, as we know, is one of them that takes place on the planet. And as you probably already know, from my experience and exposure to people on the planet over the years, I doubt very, very much that there's any family or any soul group on the planet that hasn't been exposed to it. So when you have the set of twin flames who do this, and they come in and they take this on in ways that they would manifest the template coming out, because somebody's going to ask me, so, okay, well, I get what you're saying to a degree, but how do they cleanse it out of the system? How do they work it out of the system? They do it energetically. And energetically means that what happens is they would take on the template, the dysfunctional pattern. It would manifest in their mental body, all right, as a process of thought or thinking or train of thought in a certain direction, per se, whatever. It doesn't mean that anything would manifest from it. Necessarily would they start manifesting a sexual abuse tendency in any way, shape, or form. It would also manifest in regards to their dream state. And the dream state is basically you, all right, your identity, your soul, as it were, without your 3D dimensional state of consciousness attached to it. So therefore, all of the binders and limitations and restrictions are off. So therefore, a lot of twin flames in the dream state would be experiencing wild, woolly, degrading, detrimental, ugly, whatever word or phrase you want to put to it, in the dream state's antics, actions, and experiences that by some definition could be nothing short of horrific. And what they're doing is they're probably going into panic mode and say, oh my God, what the hell's wrong with me? When in reality, there isn't anything wrong with them. They're actually working through the situation in this particular way. Now, I want to give you an example here of a situation that I'm aware of. I don't know where this comes from. It's just kind of floating into my consciousness. But what's happened here is I am aware that there are twin flames on the planet right now who are physically also working through the dysfunctional patterns of people who have sexual abuse, but also in many cases we have a lot of people who not necessarily are they, been recipients of sexual abuse, but they do have some off the wall or weird sexual, let's call them fantasies. And fantasies can build into, at some particular point down the road, the actual reality of what may be being fantasized by the person. So I'm aware that there will probably be, and this is a bit of speculation on my part, with I think we'll probably have some accuracy behind it, there will probably be some twin flames on the planet either together as a couple or they would be single and on their own who would make connections with the heart center chakra, other individuals who may come to them who have, shall we say, dysfunctional sexual energy, and they may, as an individual or as a couple, allow a certain individual to, how am I going to put this into words? And again, I'm speculating here because I've actually seen this in the dream state, as it were, where they would allow another person who has a fantasy potentially that could degenerate into something as a more warped three-dimensional sexual exploitation, manipulation, coercion, whatever term you want to use, abuse, if you will, and allow that person to work off their fantasy physically in 3D with them. And at the same time, that twin flame one or a couple would be able to, um, sometimes, I like to keep it as simple as possible. Sometimes even words fail me because it's hard to put it into three-dimensional language. They would be able to, um, thank you. I heard somebody say transmute. Exactly. That's the word I'm looking for. Thanks, whoever it was. Uh, they would be able to transmute the energy of that particular person and transmute it through their body and the chakra system. And the reason that I say that they could do that is I have to elaborate on something here a little bit for a minute. There's the odd bug out here too. I keep forgetting when you come outside there's bugs, so you got to put up with the crawlies too. So I have to elaborate here on something that when you have a set of twin flames, and again, all right, I'm not leaving anybody out, but I'm specifically talking about twin flames who are doing mission. Okay, not all the twin flames that are out there from people who say they are twin flame are doing mission. All right. What I mean by mission constitutes this: is someone, a set of twins, either together as a couple or individually, whose life is dedicated to being of service to other individuals. All right, and I don't necessarily have to be labeled a twin flame, but twin flames are in the mission format, don't do anything else but the mission. All right, that's their focus. That's what they're here for. There again, there are other people who call themselves twin flames who are more interested in just in a relationship, and I've discussed that before as them, and the big majority of them being soulmates who like the title, and that's okay too. So anyway, what I was saying is in a twin flame, and if they've gone through the appropriate initiation, okay, excuse me, if they've gone through the appropriate initiation and they have activated within themselves the 12 sheath bodies, and the 12 sheath bodies, okay, and here's where a lot of people understand a little bit more of what I'm trying to say. If you as an individual have gone through changes in your personality, changes in your environment, changes in your lifestyle, changes in specifically your belief system, and changes in who you are and how and where you are going, you have entered into the development of, or the awakening or the quickening of the additional 12 sheath bodies within the etheric body. For twin flames, what happens, and I'm talking about the originals, is they've already done this prior to becoming a volunteer and returning, all right? So they have activated those sheath bodies, all right, and they're already relatively complete. Now, when they come in and they manifest in three-dimensional reality, obviously there's some filters in there to protect them, okay, so they don't wake up too quick, and there has to be a process of initiation to allow them to wake up to the appropriate personality vibration. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that all 12 of the sheath bodies would be fully activated and fully illuminated. Okay, my favorite expression is reasonably close will do. All right, we're not striving for perfection here. We live in 3D reality, so if we're 80 to 85% in the ball game, it's better than being 45 or 50. And at 85% of being in the ball game, you're going to really kick ass. All right. So, anyways, in going back to the couple or to the single person taking on these templates, all right, you can filter them through, and they would filter through the appropriate situation. Now, in a lot of cases here, as I mentioned, there are a few people who are doing this physically, all right, by connecting with other people. But there's also a lot of people who are doing this, again, as I mentioned, in the dream state, all right, by getting involved in these particular things. Now, there are also other people, and you have to keep in mind here, anything that is productive, bountiful, and filtering in any methodology, whether we accept it as a three-dimensional reality or not, doesn't really matter. Because when it comes to going into the higher states of consciousness, and some people like to use the term the higher fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh, this is where there's less and less three-dimensional influence. And what I mean by three-dimensional influence is our thinking patterns, our belief systems, our hang-ups, and our illusions about free will, all right, dissipate. The ego, which identifies us as a single entity and a being, is greatly submerged, so therefore a lot of things can be accomplished. So the sexual abuse template is changing. And the other thing that's happening is this, is as you know, the the sexual abuse causes by itself over an extended period of time all sorts of physical ailments and conditions. Now, for example, I believe, and I've seen this happen, that people who have been sexually abused, and I've seen this over the years in counseling people, can develop, and I've seen it many times where they develop cancer situation later on in life because the sexual abuse is blocking and misaligning energies within the self of the individual. So this is what twin flames are trying to do. Now, I'm not opening this up too much, but I just wanted to let everybody know that it is being done, and it is being done on every level. And I can assure you, I've done some of this work myself, and so has Nicole. And if anyone thinks that being a twin flame and doing this stuff in the dream state and experiencing the abuse that other people have gone through as an empath and filtering it through, if anyone thinks this is an honorable and a glorious pathway, and it's uh, it's a piece of work to say the least, and anyone wants the job, you can come over and take over for me anytime you like. All right. So the idea of doing the mission is you have to have the character, you have to be able to have the filter system, and you have to be able to do this. Now, the other thing that I want to mention here is this type of work that is eliminating sexual abuse from the templates. Keep in mind here, all right, that sexual abuse has been going on for since people walked the planet, all right? So therefore, this is not going to happen overnight. And a lot of people right now, especially in the second wave of twin flames, all right, are experiencing a great deal of the sexual abuse template. The third wave at this particular point is now experiencing the last, um, geez, sometimes putting this into words is really difficult. The third wave is now experiencing the leftover remnants of the generation, people who were born, let me put it this way, in the 80s and 90s. They would be, 80s and 90s, they would be, yeah, 80s and 90s would be in their 20s, early 30s now. These are the ones that are experiencing the most intense, the most vibratory, strong, abusive tendencies, all right? And that's because it's come to a pinnacle. And what's happening is some of these third waivers, all right now, are really having a rough time with their own sexuality because they're filtering a lot of these energies out, especially in the families or the bloodlines that they came into in the soul group. Also, as you may have noticed right now, um, and I'll use this just as a quick example here to talk about this, you will notice in some countries, specifically one that I've noticed, and I'm not nitpicking here in any way, shape, or form, but India seems to be having a lot of problems in regards to sexual abuse coming out, rape being one of them, and these, submissive tactics of men that are doing this to women, and it seems to be really prominent there. So as we're seeing this now, you're going to see more individuals doing the clearing and the cleansing in every part of the world where sexual abuse is becoming rampant, all right? And this is what is taking place at this particular point. All right. Now, I'm trying to keep my videos to a little bit shorter timeline here So what I'm going to do here is, if there are additional questions that come up or more understanding that's wanted, I can always do more videos. That's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to kind of end this one here, leave it here, and if you would like to make a comment or two, ask a question, put it in the comment section. If you need additional help or guidance, Goldray Twin Flames, that's us. And you can go to goldraytwinflames.com, and we have our services on our website there. And I hope everybody has a good day, and enjoyed my wild morning glory situation here that I have going. All right, take care, everybody.